Assalamu alaikum, guys. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, Umar, you are.
Okay, nice. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Umar, and I'll be your host today. This is our first ever, you can say, kind of like a guidance session based on med school, and it's about Anki, yeah, Anki, whatever you call it. So I'm pretty sure you're all aware of the how Anki works. Is basically it's a flashcard type of system. You can use it to learn different things, and obviously recall-based memory is important for med school. So this is our first ever, you can say, presentation on Anki. If we talk about pre-med, med school, or even FSC project, everything in general. So this is our really it's going to be a really new experience for you all as well. And I hope you'll all learn uh, a lot of things from this session. So coming on to the obviously myself, Amarjaz, I'm a second year medical student at Rawalpindi Medical University. So the person who's going to be, again, next slide, please.
Yeah, so
So our speaker for today is Sayed Zain. He's also a second year medical student at Dow Medical College. Zain, what would you like to say?
hello guys. I hope this session today is informative, and I hope you take something today with you. Right? Anki has been a lifesaver for me in first year, right? And I hope that implementing it can make life a lot easier for you guys.
Yeah. So before we start, I would like you all to, we send a lot of files, vagera. So I hope everyone has their Anki ready. Can you type in the chat if you have it installed? Okay, perfect. So I guess we'll start the session. I'll send it over to Zain so he could start everything.
Thank you, Umar. Okay. So, what exactly is Anki? Well, Anki is a flashcard system designed around spaced repetition and active recall. You might have heard these words. So now अगर spaced repetition होती है, active recall मतलब क्या होता है इसका, ठीक है? The best example that I have of active recall are exams. Exams are active recall because you are essentially you've been given a question and you have to extract the information from your head. You have to answer the question, right? And that's what essentially what active recall is. Actively recalling something, right? Spaced repetition is reviewing something at different spaces, right? For example, if you did something on day one, you then do it on day two, then on day three, etc., etc. That's spaced repetition, right? Anki incorporates both spaced repetition and active recall to help you learn, right? Now, why do we use Anki then? Because spaced repetition and active recall have been shown to be one of the most effective methods for studying, right? If you would direct your attention to the screen, I have a study open here, right? If anyone is interested, this is the study. This is the study, right? You can look it up. But basically, what I want you to see is the results. Learning efficiency was significantly higher in cohort 1 versus 2. 38% increase in learning efficiency due to the adaptive algorithm, right? And this algorithm essentially was spaced repetition, right? So this is a bit of a segue that I thought I would go over. But that's why essentially, we use Anki. It incorporates both active recall and spaced repetition. Again, one of the most effective methods to study. Now, why is Anki? Okay. How to set up your Anki? I hope all of you have set up your Anki. Right? I'll be going over how to use your Anki. Right? But before that, I'll show you something else. How does Anki work? You know? Imagine you did something on day one, right? This is day one. If you were to not review it for like, I don't know, around 31 days, right? There would be a 22% chance that you would remember what you studied. Now, in med school, we are aware of the sheer volume of stuff that we study each day, in each module, etc., etc. So it's not feasible for us to forget everything, almost everything, 80% is a lot. It's not feasible to forget 80% of the stuff that we review. So that's where spaced repetition comes in. For example, you did something on the first day, let's call that day zero, right? If you were to then review it after, the first repetition would be after 30 minutes, right? There's a slightly higher chance, at 31 days, there's a slightly higher chance that you would remember it, right? If you were to review it after 60 minutes, then 60 minutes later, or let's say 45 minutes later, slightly higher chance that you would remember what you studied. If you were to review it after an hour, again, slightly higher chance that you would remember that, right? There's almost like 55% chance that you remember what you studied. And if you were to review it about, I don't know, let's call this 4 days later, after 31 days, there is a 78% chance that you remember what you studied. Now, compare that to the 22% that you would have remembered if you had not incorporated spaced repetition. Right? So this shows why we incorporate spaced repetition. Right? Now, another unfeasible aspect of studying using spaced repetition is reviewing every single thing every single day. That's not possible, right? We as med students, we know that the sheer volume of stuff the volume of content that we cover each day, it doesn't allow us to review everything that we've done each day, right? Neither can we keep track of what exactly our strong concepts are, what our weak concepts are, right? Because there's so much stuff that it's just impossible for us. That's where Anki comes in. Anki determines, right, if it's gonna ask you something, right, these repetitions, right, Anki determines it, right? You don't have to. Anki determines, right, first repetition is going to be after 25 minutes, or maybe if you're strong in a concept, it'll determine, right, the first repetition is going to be after an hour, or after 3 days, after 5 days, and then the second repetition is going to be after 10 days, and third then after 15 days, right? So this is why Anki is important. It takes away that burden that you guys have of, making that schedule, going through it all. And plus, it's very accurate. If any of you are interested, Anki incorporates the SM2, right? SM2 algorithm, right? I think Duolingo incorporates the SM1, but Anki incorporates the SM2 algorithm, right? So that's why we use Anki. Um, a lot of you said that you have installed Anki. One thing that I would like to point out, I will not be going over Anki Droid or the Anki iOS version. iOS as in the iPhone version, right? Anki on Mac or Windows, right? Laptops is what we will cover today, because Anki Droid and the Anki app for iPhone are not standalone apps. That is that they cannot be used without the laptop apps, right? So that's what I'll be covering today, the laptop apps. Now, pro tip for using Anki. Now, I mentioned that you use flashcards in Anki. Another impossible thing, thing that's not feasible for you to do is making your own cards every single day, right? It's not something that I would recommend, right? That's why there are pre-made decks available online, right? The best one, the most high yield deck as of now is the Anking deck, right? The one that was sent to you to have installed, right? The Anking deck is used worldwide, right? It has high yield information, right? And it has been tested, right? So again, the advantages of using a pre-made deck, you save time, you have access to high yield tested information, right? And again, the it ensures that the cards that you do aren't redundant or low yield, because not everything you study is high yield, right? Anking has high yield information. What that means is it's more likely to be tested, and it's more likely to show up on exams. Again, and the quality example images, because Anking adds references, etc., which I'll go over in a while. It's much better, right? Uh, cool. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving on. Now this, but if you do wish to make your own cards, there's two types of cards in Anki. There's basic card and there's closed deletion card, right? Basic card is just, it's a front and back card. I'll show you this on the Anki app as well, right? But it's basically just that on the front side, it'll have a question. On the back side, it'll have an answer. Simple as that, right? More straightforward, simple question answers. Closed deletion cards look something like this, right? For example, the card would say the capital of France is Paris, right? And then this would be a close, right? This will not make a lot of sense right now, but once I go over to Anki, I'll show you what a closed deletion card is. The Anking deck incorporates closed deletion cards, right? I'll go over what these are. And then there's the basic rewards card, optional fields, add extra information. Again, there's many different types. Now, as of now, are there any questions? I will go over Anki, right? But as of now, are there any questions about spaced repetition, active recall, anything that didn't make sense? If you're worried about the type of cards, don't worry, I will go over them once we're done with this. But as of now, any questions? Everything clear. All right. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna zoom that this. Okay. So yeah. So let's move over to Anki. Can
Uh,
everyone confirm
Name,
that?
there's a
Yeah.
question from Josefa.
Okay. Can you suggest the updated deck as we see on, can we use it on Android? All right, Alpha, I'll answer your question first. Again, Anki Droid is the app that is used on Android, but it cannot be used without this Anki. Right? Can you just confirm that you can see my screen with the Anki app? Can anyone confirm, please? Not, yes, no. Wait, what? No, okay. Okay, what about now? Yes, perfect. Okay, so this is, I hope, if though for those of you who have installed your Anki, this is what your Anki would look like. To answer our first question, y- once you have set up your Anki on laptop, then you can use it on Android. But even then, many of the features that Anki offers on this app are not available on the Android version. So I would not suggest using Anki Droid because it's not really that effective. All right, now. And there was another question. Can you suggest the updated deck? The Anking deck is the one that I sent is the most recent deck. If you want, you can just go over and on Google type Reddit Anking deck. I've sent it on chat, and you'll get the latest Anki deck, right? Usually people upload it on Reddit, but the one that I've sent is the most recent deck, right? Any more questions? All right. So this is what your answer should look like, right? Uh, I hope all of you have added the add-ons that I sent and you have added the Anking deck that was sent. First of all, let's go over importing and exporting. I'm sure many of you have done this because you imported the Anking deck, so I won't go over that. Creating backups. Now, oftentimes when we're going over the Anki deck, right? This is a new profile that I've made, right? So I'll just switch over to the other one and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen. So this basically is my Anki progress, right? I have a streak of 387 days, right? And if I go back, this is my Anki progress, right? The point of a backup is if I want to maintain this progress, right? If I want to export anything that I've made, etc., I can make a backup, right? I can just create a backup. Anki will make a backup for me. and then I can use it later, or I could re-import that my own deck, right? So that's the point of a backup, right? It's sort of like uh, how do I explain this? A checkpoint more. It's more of a checkpoint, right? You make a checkpoint, you export your deck, you back up, and then you can come back to it if you prefer to at any point. We've done creating backups and importing decks. Okay, now tools. Add-ons. Right? These are some of the add-ons that you should have. Right? A picture has been sent. Right? Some of these over here, I have not sent those to you because those are not relevant. So just ignore those. But these are the add-ons. This is how you add the add-ons. I hope you all have seen that. Preferences. Now, this is one of the most important areas of Anki. Now, review. Next day starts at this hours. What this means is that usually, if we talk about the clock, the next day will start at 12 a.m. But with Anki, if you start, I've set this to 4 hours past midnight, which means that at 4 a.m., my next day at Anki starts. So basically, if right now I'm on day one, day two for me will start at 4 a.m. tonight, not 12 a.m. You can change this, right? It's completely fine. It doesn't really matter. But this is essentially what that means. Learn ahead limit. I'll go over this once I'm done with explaining the cards, right? Because this won't make much sense right now. And yeah, so the thing that I wanted to cover was next day starts at. And okay, so a lot of you would have this turned off, right? This basically shows how many cards you have left, right? It's helpful, right? If you want to keep track of the progress you're making. So I often turn it on. You can turn it off. That's completely fine, right? So that's it for preferences. We've covered add-ons. Now, let's go over to adding new cards. So let's go over to adding. First, let's add a close card. Okay. For example, card, right? And this, I have just made myself a close card, right? Now, what this will look like is, let me just add this somewhere else. The screen is not visible. All right, wait. What about now? Okay, perfect. Now, this is what a close card looks like, right? This is a close. Now, I'll just show you what it looks like so that it makes a bit more sense. So this is what it looks like, right? This close has been hidden and I can show it then, right? But this is essentially what a close card looks like, right? I can add multiple closes within a card. For example, this is a S2, C2, and now, what this will do is it will make me two cards. Right? Let me show you what I mean. I add this, browse. See, there's two cards that have been made, and the point of that is one of those cards shows one close at a time. Okay, so the first card will show this as the close, right? C2 as the close, and the first card will show this as the close. So that's just a brief overview of what close cards basically look like. Right? Again, I would not suggest making your own cards, but if you want to, a close card is one of the most effective methods. But there's also a basic card that you can add. If I go over to basic card, right? So this is just a simple basic card. This is a test card. So this is what a basic card would look like. Can we get one card with both? Yeah, exactly. We can. Let me show you. So I can have, if I just write C1 two times, okay, so I just this this is I add this card into my deck. Now let me go over both the reverse card and this. Look, yeah. So as you can see over here, within one card, both closes are missing. Right? So both closes have been covered within one card. Was that your question, Mahi? Yep, got it. Perfect. And as for the basic card, it will just look like this, right? This is a test card, and once you show it, it'll show you this, right? That's just a simple basic card. That's no problem, Mahi. Right, so this is again adding cards. Right? So over here. So we've covered adding cards. Now, for those of you who have installed the Anking deck, I want you to open your Anki and go over to browse. Right? Go to browse, and I'm just going to remove this deck for now. Right? Just go over to browse. Right? Let me know when you're done, and then I'll show you what the first step in setting up your Anking deck is. Have you guys opened it? I'm gonna assume that you guys have opened it. Okay, so now the first thing that you'll see is every single of these cards is white. What that means is every card is unsuspended because Anki doesn't know what you studied and what you haven't. You have to tell Anki that I haven't studied this, right? So initially, what you're gonna do is press Control A, and you're gonna select every single card, right? Or 38,000 of those cards you're gonna select. Right? And then you're gonna suspend these cards. Right? So you can do that by pressing Control J or just left clicking, um, and then toggle suspend. This will suspend each and every single card, and now they're gonna turn yellow. Right? So what that means is every card has been suspended. Now move over to on this sidebar, move over to tags. Go over to this, aka step 1 V12. If any of you have used these resources like Bootcamp, Boards and Beyonds, Costanzo, the book, Osmosis, Pathoma, Physio, Pixarize, I'm sure you're aware of these, but basically each and every single card that's on the Anking deck has been tagged, right? What that means is, for example, there's many topics that Bootcamp covers, and for example, I did epithelial cells, the video on epithelial cells, and I want to unsuspend all relevant cards. What I do is I navigate over to Bootcamp, oh sorry, B and B. I go over to derm and epithelial cells, the relevant video. I press Control A. I select every single card and then Control J. Or what I could have done is I could have pressed the uh, sorry, I could have just left clicked and unsuspended these cards this way. So the advantage of this is it's very streamlined thing, right? So you are working on only the things that you've actually studied. You're not going over stuff that you haven't ever studied, and that's recommended because again, Anki is a review app. It's not a studying app. It's not a primary app, right? It's not the primary thing to study. It's more of once you're done studying, how do you retain stuff? That's what Anki is for, right? So, are there any questions up until here? Is there anything that wasn't clear? Clear, right? Okay. Suspend me. Sus we yes. Yes. Once you import this deck, you will get all these cards, right? The deck has each and every single of these cards. What does suspend mean? Basically, let me just suspend. Sorry, let me just show you. Now, over here, you can see that no cards are showing up. What that means is, all cards, I've told Anki that don't show me any of those cards, right? I don't want to do any of those cards. Suspend them, make them go away. Unsuspending means that I want to solve this card, right? And then I can unsuspend that card, right? Once I unsuspend, the tick mark next to toggle suspend goes away and the card turns white, right? So that's what unsuspend means. And then this one card is going to show up over here. Okay? And because Anki is very streamlined with, isn't Anking a paid deck? We can also get it is a paid deck. That's why firstly, I sent you the recent deck. And again, on Reddit, the recent deck is usually uploaded by people, right? They download it and then they upload it. So even though it's a paid one, you can find it on Reddit. Again, just on Google type Unking Reddit and the recent deck usually shows up, right? It is a paid deck, you're right. But we got to do what we got to do. Right, so this is suspending and unsuspending cars, right? Any more questions up until here? No. All right, perfect. Now let's actually solve a car. Go to Anking, and the first question that we get is which epithelial cell junction prevents paracellular movement? Right? I can't select them. Okay, wait, just give me a second. What do you mean you can't select them? Like it's Control A to select each and every single card. Right? It takes some time, but Control A selects each and every single card. And then Control J to unsuspend. Right. Now, let's go back to this card. Right. Suppose I know the answer to this. Right. It's tight junctions. Right. The first step is going to be pressing the space bar. Right. And then it'll show me the answer. Shows me the answer. If I was right, but I have two options. I can press good, hard, or if I write good or hard. Right? Now, good and hard also correspond to the numbers 2 and 3. Right? So for example, if I was right, instead of pressing good, I could press 3 on my keyboard. Right? Instead of hard, I could press 2. Only press hard if it took you, see, if I hover over it, it shows you shortcut key 3. Right? Can everyone see this? I hope you can. Basically, you could do this. And usually it's not recommended that you press hard unless the card took you a really long time and it didn't make sense, right? If you were able to get the answer correct, but it was difficult for you, then press hard, but usually press good. Right? If you got the card incorrect, no question about it, press again. right? And again, the shortcut is press 1. Now, instead of 3, you can also press space bar, right? And that will mark this card as good, right? So again, for once you've done a card, once you've got it right, if you want to tell Anki that you were right in the card, that you guessed it correctly, you can either press 3, you can press the space bar, or you can come and press this button over here, right? If you were wrong, simply press 1 or again. Any questions up until here? Is there anything that didn't make sense over here? It's clear. Perfect. Now, again, one of the advantages that I mentioned of importing the Unking deck is these resources that are added. For example, with this card, it will add the related first aid resources, right? To help me further consolidate my learning of this concept, right? It will add additional resources, like it'll show me the endothelial junctions and etc. Right? So that's why I asked you to import the Anking deck. It is one of the most high yield deck. Right, so guys, we have less than a minute left. So just rejoin the meeting. Okay, I think people are still joining. For those who have joined, are there any questions you guys have? Is there anything that still hasn't made sense? How to solve cards, tags, anything? Everything's clear. Perfect. No questions. All right. Okay, so this is how you solve cards, and once you're done with each and every card that you have, right? For example, I'm done with this card, go on to this card for proteins, claudins, occludins, moving on. Once I'm done, right, Anki will tell me that I'm done, and then uh, I made you add this add-on, right? This shows you your progress. Obviously, this is a different profile that I'm using, so it doesn't have the progress that I maintain. But this is a good way to sort of keep yourself accountable of your progress, right? It shows you your streak, so try to make sure that you don't break the streak, right? Anki is something that you have to do every day, right? Because see, once you're done with a card, for example, let's go back to this one. Once you're done with this card, right, and you got this wrong, right? You didn't know the answer to this, and you pressed wrong on this. Anki will know that, and it will show you that card on a different day based on your answer pattern, right? Based on what you answered, it'll show you it on a different day. Now, if you don't do Anki regularly, the algorithm will get messed up, right? Because Anki assumes that you're going to solve it every single day, right? So make sure that you solve the card you do your Anki every single day. Now, one thing about the deck setup that I haven't gone over yet is these options, right? I've sent this on the group. I think Aksa forwarded it. Thank you, Aksa. But I'll go over what this means, right? New cards per day is 100. What that means is, let's assume you had about 200 new cards that you unsuspended, right? Anki will show you just 100 cards that day, right? This is a tested number, right? Right? If you want, you can change this, right? For example, you want more new cards, you can change this, but I will not suggest it, right? Because again, this is a tested number, it works. This will balance your workload for you, right? Maximum reviews is the maximum possible reviews, right? Because if you make this number smaller, it will mess with the algorithm, right? So again, new cards 100 and the maximum number of reviews possible, right? Now, new cards? New cards are these ones, right? These are the new cards, and this learning and these due cards are the other cards that I'll be referring to. But the new cards are the blue ones. Learning. What this means is, for example, I did the card and I got it incorrect, right? Um, Anki will then show me that incorrect card after 15 minutes. So let's say I got the card wrong. It's showing up as red over here. Right? Anki will show me this card after 15 minutes, right? No more, no less. Right? The graduating interval is just a lot of these terminologies will not make sense to you right now, right? And they don't have to. That's completely fine. You don't need to know this for it to work, right? But for those of you interested, this basically means that if I got a card right, it is gonna show me the graduated card after 3 days, a minimum of 3 days, right? The same for the easy interval. If I press easy, right? So there were four options that you could see over here. Right? So within the card, there were four options, right? If I pressed easy, right? See, 4 days. It'll show me this card after 4 days then. Right? Again, not something that you should be aware of really, but I thought I'd go over it just in case. Lapses. So this is for cards that you have already graduated. Now, a graduated card is, for example, if again, this red card is a learning card, right? Once you've learned this card, Anki will know that it will graduate that card and will show up in this D, right? So once a card has graduated and then you get it wrong, right, it's going to show you that card after 25 minutes compared to 15 minutes with that new card, right? So if you had a new card and you got it wrong, it'll show you it within 15 minutes. But if you had a graduated, a mature card, and you got that wrong, Anki will show you that after 25 minutes. The advantage of this is that you don't want to store this information in your short-term memory, right? You want it in your long-term memory, right? So you don't want cards showing up immediately as soon as you get them wrong, right? Uh, let's forget all of these. Display order, the only thing that I want to go over is that the sort order is ascending ease. Now what that means is the card with the least ease or the most difficult card will show up first, and then the easier card, then the easier card, then the easier. So this is something that I'm going to cover. Burying siblings. Now, what are siblings? Remember how we made that one card? Let me in fact make it again. Let's add it to a new test deck. Um, uh, These two are siblings, right? They contain essentially the same information. It's just one of these has C1 as the close, and one of these has the C2 as the close, right? Once we do burying siblings, what that does is it will bury one of those cards, right? Because they essentially have the same information. So you want to space them out for you, right? So burying new siblings does exactly that, right? Same for review siblings, day siblings. Again, a lot of this will not make sense. I'm going over it just for the sake of it, but trust me, this works. And this not really important, and this doesn't concern you yet. So again, don't worry, these options have been sent on the pre-med group. Akshay send them. Again, thank you, Akshay. Now, before I end this, let me show you something, which was Anki basically keeps a record of your statistics, right? So these are my stats. Oh, I have a question. These are my stats, right? Today, I haven't done any cards, right? This is going to show me how many reviews I have due in the future, right? For example, tomorrow I'm going to get shown 111 cards, right? You can use this to monitor your progress. Like, is it working for you? Do you need to make changes in the way you solve Anki, etc., right? This is the card counts. Again, mature cards are those graduated cards that I was talking about. Again, these new cards are the new cards. Very simple. So you can go over this. I think it's pretty cool. You can monitor your progress, right? And so just something that I wanted to cover. Again, you can see I have currently a 387 day streak. uh, keep yourself accountable while doing work, right? It's a really great app. It's helped me immensely, right? And with that, this brings us to the end of our session. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box or open your mics and ask.